Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on, well, Superman, but also I guess the larger DC Universe reboot coming our way. And yesterday we had the much might be an understatement, I don't know, but much anticipated release of the first trailer for James Gunn's Superman, or teaser trailer, but it was fairly lengthy, so essentially a proper trailer. And with it not releasing until July 11th of this coming this coming new year of 2025, there is still a long way until we get to see, what the final product is, as well as how people take it in. With that teaser trailer, I did do a video doing I guess a mini breakdown of sorts. I said in the video, oh, it's not a breakdown. It ends up being a breakdown and just sort of giving my thoughts and just, and what they showcased. And that will be linked in the description down below if you want to go check that out if you haven't seen it, because we talk about stuff we're not going to really be referencing in this video. So yeah, go check that out if you haven't. But one thing many have been asking leading into this new DC universe that James Gunn is creating, and they were sort of hoping that the trailer for Superman would give, is what it will feel like. Is it going to, be like the lighter movies in the DCEU when it came to tone? Movies like Shazam, Aquaman, obviously the second Wonder Woman, maybe even the first Wonder Woman as well. Or would it be more like the Snyder tone, or maybe even like a Marvel-esque tone carrying over from Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy films? And what I noticed straight away with it, and I also got this from the teaser for the teaser trailer that they released the day prior, which had some shots that weren't in that teaser trailer, is that it gives a very familiar feeling of essentially the DC universe coming to life from the comic books on screen. And this is, this being the same feeling that a certain interconnected TV universe did for the past decade or so, that of course being the Arrowverse. And yes, I know there will be people that disagree, because I just know that the Arrowverse has this, instant like, oh my god, people get triggered when you mention it sort of thing. If you're in that camp, fair enough. Feel free to let me know why you feel that way. But the Arrowverse was always styled and its tone directly taken from the comic books. One of the slogans that was always used to describe the universe was comic books come to life, and that was always the intention by Greg Berlanti, Jeff Johns, and everyone involved with the inception of the universe, initially back in 2012, but more importantly in like 2014 and beyond, when The Flash, then Supergirl, and all those other shows were quickly introduced, leading to the universe we came to know nowadays. And it's no surprise that a lot of comic book writers and stuff that have their material sort of adapted go, yeah, that sort of gave the same tone when they point to the Arrowverse, compared to some other adaptations in live action. But another important factor with the Arrowverse was appealing to the general public. That was one of the strengths of the Arrowverse, and also making it essentially like a gateway to get sucked into that universe and world and these characters, to the point where you stuck along with the adventures of the show you initially watched and the other adventures with other characters that were added on afterwards. It is well known that many new comic readers from the late 2010s and into this current decade, the 2020s, were drawn into reading the comics through the Arrowverse and its week-by-week adventures, similar to the comic books that were released week by week, or I guess sometimes month by month, sometimes fortnight by fortnight. I guess depends what comic it is. So, is it a surprise that James Gunn seems to be doing the same thing from what we are seeing from his Superman film based off the trailer? No, it shouldn't. And while I do think the films for the most part will stand alone and be their own individual stories and not be like integral pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, if you want to put it, and I think like the TV shows like Lens, Peacemaker, and whatever comes after that will be what pushes the core storyline as essentially a TV show. Even if it is like only 8 episodes or 10 episodes, it is the best like vessel to push larger storytelling, while a movie can be like an isolated, just something over a week or two, like one like just quick little arc, if you want to put it, not this longer thing that you'll see in a TV show. But sort of like going against the Arrowverse side of things, if you want to put it, I think the films, like what you're going to see in the theaters, you're going to pay probably an exorbitant amount of money to go see, especially as inflation goes up. But let's say in 5 years, we're paying $50 for one ticket. But I think the films is where we will see a very Arrowverse-like tone, in the sense that it embraces the comic book roots and the feeling around the specific characters. But then, as I said, like that style of storytelling in regards to like the core stuff for this DC universe will be done through the TV shows, just because it just gives that more time and you can sort of interconnect them in an interesting way, and people can watch them on their own time. They don't have to watch them specifically like in the theater in that like whatever window that it's out. And this does mean that something like Swamp Thing, whenever it comes around, or Teen Titans, or even Clayface, will draw specifically from its source material and be different than something like Superman. Superman will feel feel like reading a Superman comic. Same with Teen Titans with some angst in there. Same with Swamp Thing with some horror and supernatural elements in there as well. But there will be that overall connected feel of the DC universe coming to life. This is what the Arrowverse did so well, and why someone would be a fan of Legends, for example, or Arrow, or The Flash, but maybe not being into a certain other show in that universe as they preferred a certain tone and feel to watch week to week. Some shows would share a certain aspect, but then be completely different in other aspects. Flash and Supergirl share some aspects, but then Flash would have the week to week heavy sci-fi element that Supergirl wouldn't, with Supergirl leaning into maybe some cosmic elements consistently with its storytelling. Then Arrow would share some similar tones to both Flash and Supergirl, but then be very grounded in street level, and then be very different in that manner, and it could be what someone watches because they prefer it week to week. It gave you a bit of everything if you wanted to watch all of the shows, or you could stick with the one tone and feel if you preferred, and that still allowed you to enjoy it all when they came together for those annual crossovers, or like random one-off crossover episodes if they happen in a certain season or show. And I just feel like James Gunn is really going to tap into that. And I'm not saying he's copying the Arrowverse, but it's just a way in which to adapt the comics. Like he wouldn't be like Greg Berlanti and everyone involved with the Arrowverse weren't the first ones to think that, hold on, why don't we just make these live action comic books? Why don't we just do that? We're not just adapting something to make it this like potentially Oscar winning thing or appealing to a certain type of film, like a random, like turning the Flash or Batman into a Western or something like that. But why don't we just make these into live action comic books? And it seems that that's what James Gunn is doing, though leaning into the appropriate tone or feel depending on what character or even just maybe what the storyline deserves. You could do a Superman storyline that maybe even has to feel a bit Batman in style or something like that, or a Batman storyline that has to feel a bit Superman in style. You could get that. Obviously, we're not going to get that in the Superman film, and I highly doubt we're going to get that in Batman Brave and the Bold whenever that comes out. But there could be circumstances where that situation does arise. But here's the big thing. Is an Arrowverse feel what DC needs or DC wants? Look, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's necessarily what's the thing. The Arrowverse was on for 10 or 12 years, 12 years, 10 once you count like really becoming a universe once Flash came in alongside Arrow. So I don't think they necessarily need to just replicate everything that the Arrowverse did. Look at, okay, they did this storyline, they used this villain, they used this character. No, that's not what they need to do. But as I said, it's the general feel. It's about being this gateway where people feel comfortable to come into and embrace those characters and enjoy those characters. And yes, that's also going to have to come down to the quality of the writing, the quality of the actor playing the character. You have to make the character likable. That's obviously a big challenge you have to do there as well. But I think that's the general thing they have to do, is sort of look maybe at what made the Arrowverse so successful over all those years, and then maybe why the general public went into that. As I've sort of brought in before, it was that gateway thing where people that maybe didn't watch anything DC before, anything comic book character related before, and they got into it through that. And, remember, it's very important that I think Warner Brothers sort of leaned into that. Maybe that's where they have to go, because it was reported that Warner Brothers was going after Greg Berlanti, aka the architect of the Arrowverse, before going after Gunn and Safran. I think Berlanti was their second or third choice, but he turned it down because it technically would have been a demotion if he took that role. And just looking at Superman and just some of the other projects that they're putting forward there, it just feels like that's like the target, like that's the goal, is to sort of make it this gateway thing rather than being this okay, only a certain amount of people will like this tone or feel. Like, I make it a generalized tone where everyone can enjoy a bit of everything, whether it is one specific project or specific parts of a singular movie. But a big question, just to finish off the video in regards to this, because obviously it's a big thing riding on this Superman film, is what does DC do if Superman and its tone and feel doesn't hit with audiences? Now, I think what I saw in the teaser trailer, I think this has the best chance at being like this very broad Superman film where everyone can feel there's a bit of what they see as Superman in the film. And, whether it's specifically with Superman or the films specifically that come after, I think DC just needs to let it ride for a bit. Like, sometimes you just have to let it ride. You can't just, get, chicken if Superman doesn't do that well. I think they just have to let it ride for a 2 or 3 year period. Let Supergirl come out, let Lanterns come out, let, Clayface, maybe that Teen Titans movie, potentially maybe even the Batman Brave and the Bold movie. Let there be a solid footing for the universe and what you're trying to do there, and also a varied amount of tones and feels, so there are those different audiences that come in, but also embrace the universe as a whole. I think that's what they have to do. I'm really hoping that they don't get chicken, but you never know with Warner Brothers as a company whether that will be the case. And also, I've only really mentioned the films and not the TV stuff, as the film stuff is where you get concrete numbers on performance. Like you have, oh, it made $500 million at the box office and they spend this much making the movie. So they have those numbers. TV, it's much more all over the place. Like they don't even know at this point, I think, whether the Penguin actually did well or not. Like they have the numbers, but they don't know really if it equated to the money they spent on it and everything like that. So that show ended like what, a month or so ago, and they still don't know. So TV is a bit more inconsistent in regards to like judging those type of figures. But overall, I'm really excited to see what comes after Superman, though. I mean, we've got 7 months or something until Superman comes out. So it's not like Superman comes out next week and we can just look forward to what comes out after that. But I'm just looking forward to seeing how this DC universe shapes up, because if this ends this time around, I mean, I don't think we're going to get another interconnected DC universe for a while. This is pretty much the last shot, at least while our backs aren't hurting, if you want to put it, while we can walk freely without getting up and going, oh, like that type of thing. So we're going to be waiting a while after that, I think, if this doesn't work. So fingers crossed. And it's just going to be interesting to see the varied tones and feels that come along with it, while also having a mutual feeling at the same time. But I do want to put my trust in James Gunn. Though it's completely different playing field with Superman compared to some of the other stuff he's done. So I'm sure the pressure's there, but sometimes you perform the best when the pressure's most on. So fingers crossed. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like and to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on this. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have a bit of a mixed bag? I don't know. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.